Apparently, I'm poor at $140,000 a year. Stay with me for a second. So the government says the new poverty line is $32,150. Okay? But then this Wall Street guy comes out and says, well, actually, for a family of 4, the new poverty line is $140,000. And at first I was like, wait a minute, I don't know about that. But then I started thinking and was like, he actually might be on to something. Because there's a difference between government poverty and real life poverty. See, government poverty is a number on a spreadsheet. Real life poverty is when your child care costs more than your rent. Housing eats up half your paycheck. Groceries feel like a luxury item. And you're one flat tire away from an emotional collapse. Because see, depending on where you live, $32,000 might be like you're scraping by, but you're actually surviving. But in other places, $32,000 won't even get you past the application fee. But the same thing goes for $140,000. In some cities, that's comfortable. In other cities, though, you just running on a nicer hamster wheel. See, because 20 years ago, $140,000 a year meant wealth. Today, in a lot of markets, it just means you're not drowning yet. So I think the real question is $140,000 poverty. It's why the official poverty line is stuck in 1994 when it's 2026. So I'm going to ask, what do y'all consider the poverty line where you live? Is $140,000 actually the new broke for a family of 4? Or are folks tripping?
Is $140,000 the new broke? You think about it, you look at the figures, you say 6 digits. How in the world is that considered being broke? And then you got to look at, where am I living? Because if where I'm living, 6 digits doesn't cover everything I need to cover. And I'm not just talking about your groceries and your gas and your rent and your car payment and insurance payment and stuff. I'm thinking that plus investments, emergency fund, things for the kids, extracurricular activities, all of that stuff. If $140,000 a year doesn't cover all that and you're still living comfortably, maybe it is a new broke. Now, of course, if you're living in North America, you know, a lot of us live in the bottom 3% of the world in terms of what we earn. But like that lady was saying, you could be in some countries and you can make $40,000 and living comfortably, you know, $1,000 a month. And you're living okay. You got an easy life. Groceries don't cost that much. You know, you got the basic essentials, but you got peace of mind. You're good. But then you got North America, and you got where I'm at, Toronto, where everything is an expense. Groceries cost a lot. Gas costs a lot. You got kids in school. Kids need stuff. Kids need clothes. Kids need stuff, activities done. And then you got to think of insurance for your family, insurance for your vehicle, all of these things. And before, like I said, 10, 20 years ago, if you had a 6-digit salary, you were considered living large. You were going on vacations. You had savings. You had all this stuff. And it's not to say that you can't do that now, but inflation obviously has gone up. And, you know, you can still get by, but you're living at a minimal. You're buying budget stuff. Everything you're doing is budget. You're cutting out on a lot of things. You're cutting out on your entertainment and stuff. So you have to look at factors. You have to look at the location where you live in. Is where I'm living too expensive? And is there other opportunities in another location? I continue to challenge people, especially younger people, where they're all about being comfortable and, you know, living in a place where they, you know, socially it's good and there's stuff to do. But my question is this: would you rather be broke and live in a fun city, or would you rather be in a less entertaining city, but you have you're above, you're doing good, your income is nice? What would you rather have? And for some people, and they probably won't admit it, they would rather be broke and live in a city that's enjoyable. Like for me, like I've never been to Las Vegas, but Las Vegas is an entertaining city. Do I want to be in Las Vegas making only $50,000 a year? But it's a fun city, so I should stay there. But if you broke, you can't do anything. You can't have fun. At least if you're in a city that's not fun, but you're making a good income, you can just work or do whatever your career does and then save up to go someplace that's more entertaining. I mean, let's be real. You don't have to have entertainment and fun 365 days a year. Most of us don't, right? But we got to look at this where, you know, if you have a life and you're living it with a purpose, you want to have the resources to be able to fulfill that purpose. And if you're in an area where you're continuing to be broke, you're continuing to live paycheck to paycheck, you're continuing to struggle, then sometimes that purpose doesn't get fulfilled. Because whether that purpose requires money or doesn't require money, at the same time, you still need some funds to get that purpose going. But I want to know your thoughts on this. Is that lady right? You know, is 140,000 the new broke? Or is it based on just location and where you live? Are we doing better than we think? Or are we really in a rough situation? Let me know. I'm your host, abnerbourne. The channel's Born with Purpose. If you haven't yet, like, share, and subscribe. I much appreciate you. And until the next video, I'm out. God bless. Peace.